Interface Video, in cooperation with Fairfield Federal, presents Fairfield Today. Brought to you by Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan, Fairfield Medical Center, Fair Hope Hospice and Palliative Care, the Frankie Smith Funeral Home, Fairfield County Adam H., Dagger Law, and the Fairfield County Board of Developmental Disabilities.
Hello friends, and welcome to Fairfield Today. Paul Jasson with you. A pleasure to have back with us. Has been a while. Young lady that is the executive director of the Lancaster Festival, Deb Connell. First of all, Deb, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me back. Thank you for calling me young lady. That just made my day.
In my world, you're but a mere child.
I appreciate that.
But it's a pleasure to have Deb on. Young lady that is this year 3?
This is year 3. Yes.
Year 3, and
yes.
She not only has the honor of being the executive director of Lancaster Festival, which is indeed a high honor because this is obviously everyone in town knows this is a huge event, but she holds the honor of the only person ever to cancel an entire
Yes.
Lancaster Festival.
Yes, I don't know that that's an honor really.
Maybe on the dark side.
Certainly was not fun for me.
Rough year.
Rough year.
That was a rough year.
Rough year.
Had to make decisions.
Yes.
Never thought would be in your purview.
Nope. In my wildest dreams, the worst I would ever have to deal with was canceling a concert
An event.
due to weather.
Yes.
Which hasn't happened much in the history of the festival.
Well, considering all the events that have gone on, you're right. There have been a few, and and when it happens, it is wild.
It is wild.
I remember Big Frog marched over to
I
OU
know.
and doing that, and
Oh.
tornadoes hitting and everybody leaving. And
Yeah.
I went there the next day after that tornado thing went on, and it was like a Twilight Zone
It
episode.
was,
Everybody's
yes.
cooler. Everything was just there like no people.
Yeah, it was just mass evacuation, and hopefully I won't have to do that for many, many years, and I hope to never have to cancel an entire festival again.
Well, let's get into happier times.
Yes.
We're back.
Yes. We're back.
100%.
Not really 100%.
Close so.
Things will look different. There's in a normal year we do about 70 events. We're down to about 35 this year. We've taken every event that we normally do inside that we possibly can to an outdoor venue, which lessens the amount of smaller performances that we can do.
And then I got my tickets, or at least the thing to get tickets, the ability to do it, and the logistics, everything is moved. I think the way I explained it was I'm going to be in about the same spot. I've got a different table, a different number, but they tried to make everybody approximately, and it looks like I'm in pretty close to the same spot, but a completely different number.
Yes, and I appreciate the chance to explain that because that confused a lot of people. So if you had a table subscription, we normally have 440 tables at the festival site. This year we have 225. So imagine the entire plot of where the tables normally are. Now remove every other table. That's basically what we had to do to get 6 foot of distance around each table. Now everybody's going to love the extra distance. But in order to do that and make sure that everybody that was there was safe, we had to change up that map.
Sure.
In a normal year, in a normal layout, row A has 16 tables. This year it has 8. So instead of having a row A, we have a section A. So those tables are staggered in the same section, very close to the front. However, they're staggered behind each other, which gives us enough tables to fulfill everybody who normally sits in row A to be in section A. So what we tried to do was match up where somebody is used to sitting on the field with where we can place them now. It is going to look different. Not everybody's going to be in the same place that they're used to, but this is the best that we can do with the circumstances at hand.
And I would say a year ago, had you tried this, there would have been a lot of perhaps carping about this. But now everybody, I think, understands that everybody had to make and still has to make sacrifices for this.
Absolutely.
If we're going to have a festival, it's going to have to look like this.
It is. It's going to look different, but you're right. The best part of it is we get to have a festival.
Sure. I'll sit anywhere just to be able to.
That's right.
To go
and I
through
love
this
that
again.
attitude. And if everybody bears with us, I promise you, in 2022, the map looks like the map from 2019.
Yeah.
So this is a 1-year thing. It's just so that we can follow the CDC and the state guidelines.
Small price to pay.
It's a small price to pay for getting to hear live music again.
So let's talk about the events. St. Mary's this year?
No.
Opening event?
That concert we took to Ohio University, Lancaster, the
Ohio
Wendell
University
concert stage.
gets a lot of work out this year.
Well, yeah, we're going to be very busy out there. We're doing 6 concerts instead of 3. One of those being the normal opening night concert at St. Mary will be on Tuesday night. So it will be an orchestra-only performance. Gary's put a wonderful program together that spotlights several of the orchestra soloists, as well as featuring our fellow for the year, who's an 18-year-old violin virtuoso who is just fabulous. So it's a great program, but it will be on the Wendell concert stage.
Yes.
Which is great. It gives us a little bit more elbow room out there too.
Will all the tables and everything be set up for every event this
Yes.
year? So everything, if you're going to go, you'll be in that. You'll know how it looks.
Yes, you'll know how it looks. Once you've seen one concert, that's the way the setup is going to be for every concert.
So now we've gotten through I guess we always call it Festival Brass. I don't know what it's been called, but the opening night we moved through that.
Yep.
What's next on the big stage?
On the big stage, it's going to start with the first Saturday night concert, which is the band Perry, Country Music Artist of the Year, Grammy Award winning. They're getting ready
Big
to put out a
name.
new country album.
Big
So the
name.
timing of their new album is going to be fabulous for us. They're excited to come. Gary's writing charts for them. This will be their first orchestra show.
I think I read that first time, maybe for several people, maybe
Yes.
Don Felder too, but
Yes.
but first time, and usually that's pretty exciting.
It is
Everybody is
exciting.
just yeah.
It is exciting. Now, the one thing about our orchestra this year is due to spacing on the stage, we will only have about half of our orchestra.
Sure.
It'll be a smaller orchestra. Gary and Steve have been, choosing those orchestra members so that we have all of the parts and
Sure,
pieces needed
sure.
to play the music that they want to play. So it'll be beautiful. There'll be a wonderful sound with the band Perry. I can't wait to hear which songs they have chosen together to orchestrate. They'll play a few songs, I'm sure, from their new album. They'll play a few songs on their own, but most of it will be with the orchestra.
With Deb Connell, Executive Director of Lancaster Festival, we're going through kind of the outlook this year. It's my dad would say it's the same thing, only different. The festival is back. Huge amount of events, not as many, but still a huge amount of events. Many out at the Wendell stage. And will you be having some of the smaller concerts around some of those events? I know there was an article in the paper. They pretty much touched on the big events, but many of the smaller events still going on.
Some of the smaller events, so the cafe concerts,
Yes.
which are really popular, some of our
Yes.
chamber music, we'll have 2 of those instead of 4 this year. They will both be at Cheers. We've figured out how to put a decent amount of tables and room for musicians on the patios at
Yeah,
Cheers.
yeah.
It's a beautiful space out there. We're excited about that. A lot of those smaller outreach concerts that we normally do, we're just not able to this year because we don't have the outdoor spaces that are appropriate for musicians. Unfortunately, one of the riskiest actions that you can do is play a wind instrument. That seems to be one of the things
Really?
that, yeah. So the orchestra has to be very careful. Of course, we want to protect all of them too and make sure that they're all comfortable. So, our orchestra musicians will have about 10 foot of space between each other on the stage, as well as plexiglass barriers beside of each of them. So the logistics of figuring this out has been very challenging, but very worthwhile because I can't wait to bring the festival back to the community.
Well, let's give a little plug here to your board,
Yep.
who's worked very
Great.
diligently
Very
and very hard
active,
at coming
yes.
up, and had to make so many tough decisions, difficult decisions, but they made them, and we're moving forward.
We are. That's the best thing that we can do is just have a festival.
One of the things we were talking about too, and I think we talked about this a while back, is the huge night. One of the huge nights, other than the 2 Saturday bookends, are the tribute night.
Yes.
That's going to be a little different this
It
year.
is going to be a little different. Most people know that for 2020 we had booked an Elton John tribute, Elton Ron.
Going to be
He-
big.
It was going to be big. He did a virtual concert for us in the year that was shut down, and everybody enjoyed that. However, we just learned within the past week or so that he's not able to come this year. So we automatically rebooked him for 2022. So you get the first scoop on the first act of 2022 will be Elton Ron on that Wednesday night. We are looking for a replacement band. We've got lots of great bands out there that we were planning at some point to bring to the community. So we're just moving that schedule up a little bit.
Sure. So to be determined.
To be determined. Hopefully by the end of this week or so.
And so the big Saturday night concerts going to be huge events as always.
Yes. Yeah. Still be huge events. We'll have to limit that attendance to 5,000 people. So if you're interested in getting tickets, I would suggest you do it right away. Tickets go on sale May the 3rd. Of course, our grand finale concert will be Don Felder, formerly of the Eagles.
Big name.
Big name. If you love guitar, you love Don Felder. He's one of the best. We can't wait to have him. Also getting charts written by Gary and performing his first full orchestra show.
I can't believe somebody that's been as big as he has and had done as much as he's done in his life in music, never with an orchestra.
Never with an orchestra. He has played a compilation performance with several other artists that had a few selections that were orchestrated. However, he's never played his own concert fully orchestrated. I mean, he wrote Hotel California. He is a classically trained guitarist, so we are very excited to have him.
Now, we'll get to how people can still get tickets, how they order, we'll get that. But something that just flashed through my mind, I don't know, I didn't think of that. What about the festival seating up on top behind all the tables? Will that be open?
That will be open. When we hit that max capacity, though, we'll have to shut off ticket sales.
And it's up to everybody just to be seated as...
We will have large circles painted in the field for people to pick and choose where they want to sit and then stay within their little bubble. Yeah.
What a time.
If you want to come out and paint circles with me, I will take your volunteer hours.
That's a skill. It seems to me that there'd be a skill to that, maybe above my pay grade. I don't know. So in some cases now, normally that's not the case. Tickets are at a premium in some of the concerts.
Yes.
How is this attained?
We are going to start selling tickets on May the 3rd at 10 o'clock in the morning. They will also be at our office. You can purchase them online on our website. You can purchase them by phone by calling the office. Our volunteers are happy to process them for you. There will also be tickets to all 6 of the concerts that we're doing from the Wendell concert stage available at Kroger.
At Kroger.
Both of the Krogers are going to sell tickets to all 6 of those concerts. Okay. So that's big for us too. But again, I would recommend, especially those Saturday nights and the Wednesday night, if you want to come to the concert, get your tickets early.
Deb Connell, who along with the board have done such a tremendous job of just reorganizing and just re-envisioning, rethinking, reimagining what this will look like, and it's going to be an interesting year. Should be a fun year. I mean, everything's there, all the pieces are in place.
Yes.
A wonderful year for the concert. Year 20...
Year 37. 37 this year.
Hard to believe.
Which is great. 35th anniversary of the Lancaster Festival Orchestra as well.
That's right. And we hope 38 will be much like the other 30.
Yes, we're going to celebrate next year for sure when the entire orchestra is together again.
Deb Connell with us from the Lancaster Festival. Deb, thank you. Good luck, and we'll see you out there. Good luck with the circles.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fairfield Federal. When it comes to our customers and our community, we go above and beyond to help. Our people make the difference.
We were retiring from Tucson, Arizona, and we made a retirement trip out around Ohio, having decided that's where we wanted to be. And we came across this town called Lancaster, and we fell in love with the downtown area, where the fountain is, and the memorials, and the flags, and all this stuff. And I looked around and I said, there's our bank right there.
There's something to be said about a community bank in your hometown.
Right. If you live in the community, you should do business in the community as much as possible. So it makes sense to bank with the community bank where you live.
Fairfield Federal is the bank to be at. If you live in this town, or any town actually, you want to bank at a local home bank. And the employees are happy here, they're conversant, customer service is through the roof. There's nothing more you could ask for.
Personal or business banking, whatever you need, we take it seriously because we know you do. Stop by today at any of our 3 locations and see why the difference is clear.
Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan specializes in banking that revolves around you.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Going to talk about the little building that's just about 100 yards here up the hill, the Decorative Arts Center of Ohio, and Jason Crabill is the executive director. Jason, welcome back.
Thank you.
We had you on, I think it's been several months now, but it was just really after you had taken over. Have you been here a year yet?
Not quite. July.
July.
A year in
Okay,
July,
so
yeah.
we've had you on once, and then it was complete shutdown.
Yes.
There was just how are you handling it? How's everything going? So we might talk about that a little
Sure.
bit. It's been an interesting year for you
It
to
has.
have taken over. I talked with other people like Deb Connell with the Lancaster Festival. She didn't think one of her aspects was to shut the festival completely down for an entire year. She didn't think she'd ever have to do that.
Right.
But it's been a unique year, unlike any other that any of us remember, and unlike any other that we hope we'll have to face again. But now, as we hope we're on the outside end of that and things are getting better, although you never know how, whatever the new normal is,
Right.
it is. So as you look back on this year, what have you learned? More than you
Patience.
wanted to? Yes,
Patience.
that's a good point.
No, I mean, we have, we were able to open over the summer, last summer for a period of time. And so we were able to bring folks in the building and through, practice social distance and say, everybody wore masks, and we have a one-way path through the museum. So we know how to do it. But despite being closed, the museum being closed to the public, we've been saying that we're still open. In other words, we've done a whole lot through social media, on our website. We had an entire exhibit that was supposed to open that didn't open at all, but we created a bunch of programming around it. So we had a curator tour that we created a virtual tour of that. Every year we do a big holiday display.
Christmas trees, the whole deal. That's always a big deal.
And that was unable to open this year, despite the fact that this year we had 28 Christmas trees set up in the house. But we did a curator talk, virtual curator talk of that. So, we tried to do as much connecting with the community as possible, despite physically not being able to be in the building. And we are still closed, hopefully to open soon. I'm working very closely with my board to keep an eye on numbers and things, and we're working hard to figure out how we can reopen. I know that our docents are all eager to come back.
I was going to ask that very question.
Yeah.
These are volunteers
They are.
and generally of an older age.
They are, yes.
And so certainly health is an issue with them. Everybody's been getting their shots. I understand you're in that
I'm
group
in the
now
cycle.
too.
Yep, I'm midway through the process.
Okay.
And of course we are very, very conscious of all of that about our docents, the age and the vulnerability to the to COVID and all the rest. Many of them have been vaccinated already, and we've gone through. We've had conversations about the process and what it will look like when we reopen. And so, for the most part, everyone's coming back and they're eager to get started. And so, our next big exhibit opens in June. That'll be the sort of re-engagement with the community, and that's an exciting show. It's called Distinctly Paramount, and the curator is Randall Thropp, who is a native of Lancaster.
I bet a name that many people will remember.
I would expect that many people know that name here.
I don't know how many years ago. It's probably been 4 or 5 years when that originally started, when he first came. But it was a tremendous success. I mean, it had been nothing like that ever at the Decorative Arts Center. And they've had some big shows up here. But this thing was wall-to-wall people for all the time it was open.
And the shows that Randall curates are very popular. This, I think, is our 4th show we've done with him. We try to do one every couple of years. He says this is the one that's been the most challenging because it's a really interesting concept.
Really?
Yeah.
It's different from the movie.
Well, so it's all collections from Paramount Pictures archives, their costume collection.
And the day before, they were basically around Edith Head.
So there was at least one big show around Edith Head. I think so. Edith Head was sort of the theme for a couple of them.
Right.
This show is called Fashion and Costume, and so it's sort of about the relationship between the way fashion is used in movies and costume, and how one influences the other, and so it's a lot of fun. I think people will see pieces from movies they know, and also and actors and actresses they know, and then also maybe some things that are aren't in a movie they've seen, but the piece itself is of particular interest, the way it's made, or why it was used the way it was used, those sorts of things. So I think it'll be a really interesting exhibit. Because that exhibit doesn't open until June, it opens on June 5th.
Right.
We have a little teaser exhibit in our lower gallery that will be available when we reopen. That is from the Paramount collection, and is just sort of just to wet people's whistles for the big show. So when you come, you'll get a chance to explore the house itself, and then see this smaller exhibit in anticipation of our big June opening.
Was fascinated when we've had Randall on the show before, and we've talked about, again, it was mostly Edith Head things back then, but what a big part of movies dress is, costumes are.
Totally.
And we've got the Oscars coming up here shortly, another few weeks, and we'll talk about that. But you realize when you watch something like that, something you take for granted, like the music, like the clothing, the costumes, you take all that for granted. But if you took that away, movies would suffer
Absolutely.
Tremendously. And that's true with what we'll learn on this, June 5th through January 2nd. It's here a long time.
Yeah, it's going to be here for 6 months, which means that we're going to be able to
will it change
do a lot of
somewhere?
different programs. There will be some changes throughout the
Okay.
year, and also we'll tie it in pretty strongly with our holiday exhibit during the
Right,
holiday
that'll be
season.
right concurrent with that.
Right.
Yeah, so you'll have a lot going on here. Your plans are big. You've
Plans are
taken
big.
some time off, but you haven't really been off.
That's right, and we're working hard to plan out our summer programming. So we're planning on a summer camp in the summer, which we weren't able to do last year, but that'll be returning in June. I believe that's June 14th through the 17th.
Okay, about the same time
Right
everything started.
Yep. And the information on that is on our website. We'll also have we're also working on several workshops and other programmatic things associated directly with the exhibit, and so it'll be a nice mix of programming and exhibits, and we're really excited to welcome people back to our space, and we're excited to get back into the community as everything sort of reopens.
Sure.
And we all sort of get back to it.
Talking with Jason Crabill. Jason's the executive director of the Decorative Arts Center of Ohio, just up the hill, maybe 100 yards up here. And again, as you look back on this year now that you've had, a year unlike any other that you certainly ever thought, or any of us ever thought we'd go through. And we talked about things you thought you've learned, and your answer was patience, and I think we've all learned that things are not like they were. But I think now as we look back almost a year, just about a year about now, sometimes things are really starting to break loose. And have you done some things in that last year where everything was by the seat of the pants? You didn't know, well, we'll open up here in a month, well, maybe 6 weeks, and all of a sudden you see the whole summer's gone.
Right.
And I tell people all the time that a year ago, I thought this was, well, it's flu, it's not going to be anything. But when I saw the governor cancel the Arnold in Columbus, I thought, this is big, because that is everything to Columbus. And so we saw things sort of fall apart then all year, and now we're coming back. I think we're better able to handle this year, even if some of these turns in the road and curves in the road, which there will be. This is not going to be smooth from here on out. We're not past this yet. But I think you've learned some things, I would guess, that you would say help you now.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, so I think, obviously patience is the big one, right? Patience and grace.
Sure.
But I think, the realization of how flexible we really could be, how responsive we could be, there are certain things that were harder than others to kind of adjust to. But, we're a small staff, we're a small organization, but we were able to to respond in ways that I think were pleasantly surprising given everything. And we, I think as we come out of this, there will be things that we learned through this process that we'll continue to do.
Sure.
In other words, I think that we'll find opportunities to put some of our programming that was normally all in person, make it available online. And so if you aren't able to be in Lancaster, but you really want to hear that lecture or that curator talk, we'll find ways to make that available to folks
Where
in the space.
before maybe you'd never even
Wouldn't
thought
even
about
thought
that.
about it, right?
Sure.
Right. And so, in museums we talk a lot about, there's obviously who comes through your door, right? But a museum is an idea as much as it is a place. And so it's really about how many people are we impacting beyond who's physically in our space, right? And we knew that beforehand, right, intellectually, but I think we really got to prove that out and are still proving it out and finding ways to do that. And the fact that other people were in the same boat means that we're all sort of learned a lot of the same lessons at the same time. Maybe not all in the same way, but we have a common language I think we can use as we work to partner with organizations and other groups and try to be a resource in the community in ways that we may have tried to do in the past, but may not have had the same insight into how to make that work. So,
well, come up June 5th, it's Randall Throp, and you're going to bring on Distinctly Paramount. And again, you can go on the website here, which the web address is
decartsohio.org.
Yep. That's it. And it's a great website, lots of information there, a lot of links to about anything you'd want to find out about the entire Reese Peters house and everything they've got going on up there. But when you talked about Randall, who I believe lives in California, when you talk to him about all this, I'm certain his experience about there has been similar to what yours were, maybe even tighter.
He has, yeah. California has shut down in ways that not even Ohio did in certain ways, and I think that the studios have been shut down, and but he's essential worker there, so he's been tested regularly. He recently got his vaccinations.
Sure.
For him, he works in a large warehouse working with collections and those sorts of things. When he's been back, I think it's been nice for him, I think, to work with people and actually be right.
Sure. He's ready.
But it's slowed his process down a little bit out there.
Yeah.
But I think he's going through the same things we've been going through, and I think it's interesting how important the media landscape seems to have been during this whole, the content that's been created for us as we're sitting in our couches, not able to leave our houses.
Sure.
I think. So he's been dealing with the value, dealing with the fact that the entertainment industry in California has kept churning, figuring out ways to keep going despite the shutdowns more broadly.
Well, it's going to be interesting. If you've been sitting in your couch for quite a while and you're ready to get out and do something, coming up June 5th, very shortly now, for about 6 months, it's going to be Distinctly Paramount. And again, a Lancaster native, Randall Throp, who came with the Edith Head collection several years ago and has been so involved, enjoys coming back here and doing this with the Decorative Arts Center of Ohio up in the Reese Peters building just up the hill here. It's going to be a tremendous show.
It is.
And maybe we can make a date now when Randall comes in. We can get back on and talk about this because it's time for everybody. Everybody's ready to break out of what they've been doing.
And I would encourage everybody, I wish I could be here today to say this is our opening date. I don't have that yet, but I encourage everybody to keep an eye on our website, on our like us on Facebook and on Instagram and Twitter and even YouTube. You can subscribe to us on YouTube, and we will communicate when we're reopen. And despite the fact that the exhibit doesn't open until June 5th, when we are open, and you want to get out of the house, you want to come for a house tour and see the architecture and the history of the house, we'll be ready to welcome you. So between that and the programming we're working on, I think it's going to be a great year for us and for the entire community as everybody gets back.
Jason, thanks for joining us. Decorative Arts Center, we've had a wonderful museum aspect here in Lancaster, Fairfield County. Certainly the crown jewel is the Decorative Arts Center. So we'll be looking forward to everything getting back to whatever the new normal will be here. Yeah. We appreciate your being with us. Get on their website. They have a lot of things going on up there. And again, June 5th, distinctly Paramount show will be coming off. It's going to be a wonderful show, and we'll be talking with Jason and get involved more with it as we move into the summer and we get back and head toward the festival and the Lancaster Fair. And as Jason said, everybody's ready to kind of get back involved here. So we appreciate Jason being with us today and you joining us on Fairfield Today.
Interface Video, in cooperation with Fairfield Federal, presents Fairfield Today. Brought to you by Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan, Fairfield Medical Center, Fair Hope Hospice and Palliative Care, the Frankie Smith Funeral Home, Fairfield County Adam H., Dagger Law, and the Fairfield County Board of Developmental Disabilities.